Micromotor Madness. Scale down, drive big.
Hey YouTube! As you can probably tell, today we're checking out this easy RC Patriot.
We ride again.
Alright guys, here it is. The Easy RC Patriot, fresh out of the box. I actually got this one from a Fair RC mystery box for just $59.99. Total surprise. It's an older, kind of toy grade rig, but at that price it's a solid base to upgrade and have some fun with. In the box, you get a 380 milliamp hour battery, a manual, a crappy transmitter, a USB charger, and a little tool for removing the tires. Out of the box, the rig feels kind of bouncy. Those friction shocks are really stiff. Now, when mine arrived, the package was pretty beat up from shipping. And inside, there is some movement. I think one of the seats isn't properly mounted. It probably took a few hits during transport because the box was in terrible shape. No big deal though, considering what I paid for it. After swapping the tires, adding heavier beadlock wheels, and installing a set of 45mm oil shocks from Injora, I lined it up next to the FCX18 LC80 for comparison. And when it comes to shock absorption, the LC80, even stock, still performs better, mostly because the Patriot is heavier and has a full interior. Besides the wheels and shocks, I swapped out all the bushings for proper ball bearings. Then, I took it out for its very first test. And as you can see, it's not great. Either the gearing has an issue, or the extra weight from the metal wheels puts too much stress on the plastic gears. You can hear it. It squeaks and grinds under the slightest pressure. Even small inclines made the diff gears skip teeth. So yeah, it was pretty bad. I sent this video to Fair RC to report the problem and asked if they could send me metal diff gears. And honestly, their response was awesome. They sent me a whole new rig as compensation, completely free of charge. That's how I ended up with the Easy RC Glacier. $0. At the same time, I ordered the metal differential gears to upgrade this one properly. This is where the story really begins. Time to rebuild, full teardown, full upgrade, no shortcuts. Let's strip it down and let the music tell the rest of the story.
Micromotor Madness, from mystery to madness. Let's ride.
I'm Buster Ride, surprising the air. Fair RC mystery, what will be there? White RC80, but 3 in disguise. 15 on box, what a crazy guys. But the gears run grind, disappointment came. Fair RC stepped up, send another to the game. 2 rigs in the beat for the price of 1. Yeah, that's fun.
Micromotor Madness. Let's ride. Micromotor Madness. Yeah. Micromotor Madness.
We fix, we play, still gears inside. No grind today.
Glass wheels heavy, stable and true. Upgrades shining, brand new view. Micromotor Madness.
rocking to beats, the corners of life. DIY spirit, that's how we thrive.
Micromotor Madness.
We ride. We ride.
Now that the crawler's fully torn down, we're starting with the front and rear axles. I already installed bearings with the plastic gears, but since we're switching to metal, I'll show you the bearing sizes you'll need. 4 pieces of 5x8x3 millimeters for the main diff gear for both front and rear axle, and 4 of 3x6 by 2.5 millimeters bearings for each axle. And finally, 2 7x11 by 3 millimeters for front axle CVDs. Disassembling the axles is pretty straightforward. Remove the Phillips screws, pull the diff gears, swap the bushings for bearings, and grease everything properly. It's an easy job. I use boom racing bearings from Asia Tees. I buy most of my parts there because they stock everything from hardware to full kits. That way, I don't have to order from AliExpress or buy overpriced kits. Buying by size and quantity saves a ton. Usually costs me around $6 to $7 per rig instead of $20 for a kit. For the front axle, you'll need 2 special size bearings, 7x11 by 3 millimeters for the CVDs. Also, be careful with the diff covers. They allow the gears to be installed in both directions. If you flip them by mistake, your axles will spin opposite ways, one forward, one backward, and your rig won't move at all. Don't ask me how I know. So yeah, for the differential gears, I bought an FMS kit. It's actually the one made for the old FMS LC80 called Katana, which isn't being produced anymore. It fits all easy RC rigs since they share the same axle design. And of course, I got it from Fair RC. As you can see, here's the full kit. Just add some grease and drop it back in place. It's really simple and pretty straightforward. The only downside is that since this is an older model, these parts are getting a bit hard to find. You can still track down the differential gears if you search around a bit, but they're definitely becoming more rare. But I'm pretty sure you can still find them on the official FMS online store. They're the same gears used in the older FMS K10, LC80, and Toyota Hilux models. I actually bought 2 different gear kits, planning to use one on the Glacier, but it already had metal diffs. Nice surprise. Same with the Bronx and the Thunderstorm, all came with metal diffs. So I guess Easy RC fixed the issue. The Patriot seems to be the only one that had plastic gears. So if you have another model, you probably don't need to replace them. Just swap the bushings for bearings. Now, let's move on to the steering setup. As you can see, the Patriot comes with a chassis-mounted servo. I wanted to relocate it onto the axle to get a much better steering response. To do that, I used a servo mount from the FCX24 Chevy K5. However, when you install it directly on the axle, the screw holes for the diff cover face toward the rear, which basically flips the servo backward. That creates a bit of clearance issues with the chassis. On top of that, it sits really low, which makes the servo horn sit too close to the steering link, and that causes binding and poor movement. So, to fix this, I made a small custom mount that allows me to bolt the FCX24 servo mount on top of it, and then attach that piece to the axle. This raises the servo just enough for perfect clearance and smooth steering. It's a simple fix. I just used a 2mm ABS plastic sheet, cut it to shape, and drilled 2 holes on each side, spaced 6mm apart vertically, matching the width of the diff cover mounting holes. That 6mm spacing gives the right lift. Then I mounted the FCX24 servo bracket onto the custom extension, bolted the extension to the axle, and it fits perfectly. As you can see, after installing it, I used a temporary servo just for testing. This one's not the final setup. I'm still waiting for some parts to arrive. But for now, it's mounted really clean. You wouldn't even think it's a homemade piece. It's perfectly aligned, solid, and doesn't move at all. Honestly, it looks like a permanent solution. After that, of course, you'll need a new steering link because the stock one was made for a chassis-mounted servo. I made mine using 2mm ball end joints screwed into a custom link. You can also just use a long 2mm screw, cut off the threaded tip, and use it as a solid rod between the ball joints. I keep a good supply of this kind of hardware, since I use ball joints across all my builds. Plenty of rigs use M2 hardware, like the FMS CX24 and 18 Easy RC and Hobby Plus. They're super useful for custom work like this, so I always keep plenty of them in stock for my projects. All right, let's talk electronics. If you know Easy RC or early FMS rigs, you know the electronics are bad. The ESC makes that awful high-pitched noise, drives you nuts, and the transmitter has 0 tuning options besides steering dual rate. So that's the first thing to go. I picked up a Rock Hobby ESC and transmitter combo, the same setup used in the FMS FCX24 Power Wagon. After unboxing, I waterproofed the ESC myself. It already has a protective coating, but I like adding my own layer using an electronics sealer that I bought from AliExpress. I coat one side and let it dry 2 to 3 hours, then flip and do the other. It's flexible, seals perfectly, and I've actually submerged rigs using it, no problems at all. I'm spreading the insulation across the whole surface, getting it into every little corner and between the connectors, just to make sure everything's fully sealed. I think $59 is a fair price for this rig. It's kind of an older model, a bit on the toy grade side, and that ESC and transmitter, yeah, it's pretty terrible. It used to retail for around $139, which I think is way too much for what it is. But at $59, it's a perfect base, a great platform to start upgrading from, especially at that price point. Now that the ESC is ready to be installed, we're moving on to the lighting setup. I'm starting with this part because the rig is still fully disassembled, so it's the perfect time to take care of the wiring. We're going to replace the LEDs because the stock ones were just basic non-resistor LEDs. They only worked with throttle input. When you drive forward, the front lights come on. When you go in reverse, the rear lights turn on. That's it. So, we're removing all of that and installing a brand new LED setup to take advantage of the ESC's lighting functions. Things like auxiliary lights, front lights controllable from the transmitter, reverse lights, brake lights, and more. Before getting started, I prep all my LEDs and connectors. These are the standard connectors that work with all FMS and Hobby Plus rigs. I usually buy them in bulk, packs of 10 or 20, both male and female, and keep them in stock. Having this kind of hardware on hand is essential when you're building or customizing rigs. It saves you a ton of time and keeps your build process smooth. Once everything's ready, I plug in and position all the LEDs inside the body, without soldering yet. That way I can test everything first, make sure all the lights work, that there are no bad connections or wrong wiring to the ESC. After confirming that the front and rear lights are working properly, then I go ahead and solder everything in place. Lighting isn't really my favorite part. It's more of a wiring and soldering nightmare. Tedious, annoying, but hey, no true scale rig without lights, right? Then I run another test after soldering, before wiring everything up clean and permanent. The build is finally starting to take shape. I've already installed a few accessories, like the hinges on the bumpers, and the shocks I had put in earlier are performing really well. They're the 45mm Injora oil shocks made for the FCX24, and they fit perfectly. However, I'm going to swap them out because I need stiffer springs. Even the firmest Injora springs aren't strong enough to keep this rig stable. It's a pretty heavy crawler. So I'm switching to a set of Batrazzi shocks I got from Fair RC. They have tighter, firmer springs, which is exactly what I'm looking for. See, unlike a lot of people I see on YouTube who go for super soft springs to get maximum flex, I prefer a setup with real suspension, not just a rig that droops and flops around with no control. I also mounted the tires on these Injora 1-inch brass beadlock wheels. They're about 42 grams each. I used brass wheel hexes I got from AliExpress. They're meant for the SCX24, but they fit perfectly on our Patriot build. I like my suspension setup to be firm, but still offer maximum articulation. That balance gives the rig a realistic and controlled driving behavior. And since I'm really into scale builds, I want my rigs to move and react like real trucks. I always try to keep them as true to scale as possible. I don't cut the wheel arches or body lines because I want to preserve that original, realistic look. The goal for me is to squeeze out as much performance as possible without losing that one-to-one aesthetic. That's why I'm going to try out these Batrazzi shocks. They're stiffer than the Injoras, but they're also a bit shorter, 40mm instead of 45mm. So I'll lose a little bit of ride height and some suspension travel. We'll see how it reacts, but I already know these shocks are good. I've used them on other crawlers before and they performed great. I'll just test them here and find out. Usually when you're building a custom rig, you don't get the perfect setup on the first try. Tuning takes time, testing, and a lot of small adjustments along the way.
Swapped Injora for the Batrazzi feel, firmer spring, steady steel. I like my rigs to stay scale, no body roll, no fake flex tail. Keep it real, keep it raw, one look, no flaw. No cut fenders, no cheap disguise. Firm and true, that's how it drives.
Before diving into the transmission work, I wanted to show you how I added a bit of extra weight down low on the rig. I mounted it not directly to the chassis, but to the lower body section of the truck, using boom racing weights. The same ones usually meant to go inside 1/10 scale crawler wheels. I'm using them here as balance weights to fine-tune the rig's lower center of gravity. I glued them under the body and on top of the servo. Each weight is about 7 grams, which is actually pretty solid, and it lets me balance the rig corner by corner for a more stable setup. Now that we've finished the axles, with all the metal gears and bearings installed, it's time to move on to the transmission. We're swapping out all the plastic gears for metal ones and replacing the bushings with bearings. After that, we'll jump over to the body and start adding some small details, including the Toyota emblems. As you've already noticed, we've got the roof accessories installed and the ESC is ready to go. So now, let's get into the transmission work. To remove the transmission, just undo 2 Phillips screws, detach the drive shafts, and remove 3 more screws. Inside, it's all plastic gears and bushings. We'll replace them with 2x5 by 1.5 and 2.5 by 5 by 2.5 millimeters bearings. That smaller one is harder to find. You will need 2 of each for the gearbox. But honestly, you don't have to replace the smallest bearing. You can keep the bushings if you want. It's not a huge deal. You'll also need 3x6 by 2.5 millimeters bearings for the drive shaft gear. As you can see, I'm using a full metal transmission gear kit. I bought 2 of them a while back on AliExpress, but they're non-branded and now almost impossible to find. First step, swapping out the bushings for bearings and giving the gearbox housing and gears a good dose of graphite grease. It keeps the metal gearing running smooth and quiet. With this kit, you'll need to reuse your stock shafts, except for the main drive shaft gear, which comes as one solid piece, shaft and gear together, as you can see in the footage. We swap out the bushings and grease up the second gearbox housing before reassembly. It also includes a motor pinion, supposedly for a 1.5 millimeter motor shaft. But the sizing isn't super accurate. It felt slightly smaller, and last time I tried it on another build, it actually bent the motor shaft. Not doing that again, so I'm sticking with the original plastic pinion on the new motor I'm installing, the Injora 50 Purple Edition. It's a pretty well-known motor and a direct fit for this transmission. Installs super easy. After swapping the plastic gears for the metal ones, we mount the motor, and once that's in, the transmission is ready to go back onto the chassis. As for the drive shafts, I didn't show them earlier, but here they are. They're stainless steel. I got them from AliExpress for about $8 without shipping, and they've been running flawlessly ever since. No binding, no noise, super smooth. Now that our rig is mechanically ready, it's time to move on to the exterior detailing. For this part, I picked up an original Easy RC Patriot sticker kit, mainly because I wanted to reuse some of the decals, especially those tiny stickers that simulate the side turn signals. They always add that extra bit of realism. And I will keep those small mountain landscape graphics. I'm planning to use the extra mountain decals on another crawler, the 1/24th scale Cybertruck build we've got. I also bought a Toyota emblem kit from the FCX LC80. The emblems come separately, but Fair RC taped them together so they wouldn't get lost during shipping. So let's start with the side turn signal stickers. I'll be honest, it doesn't stick very well and won't last long, but I'll still show you how I put it on. It's super easy, just line it up and press it down.
Fake like glowing, fooling me Scale dream rolling, real as the sky.
Then we've got the Toyota emblems. There are 4 of them in total, 2 large and 2 small. The small ones go on the front grille, and the large one goes on the rear of the truck. It's really straightforward. Stick it in place, peel off the top protective film, and press firmly so it stays there for good. I also recommend adding a thin layer of glossy clear coat over the emblem. It helps seal it and keeps it from ever peeling off. So yeah, the front grille looks great, clean and solid. Now we move to the back. Same process. I already removed the roof ladder to make space. And I'm placing the rear emblem right above the license plate. One smooth move and it's done. And just like that, the Patriot transforms into a Toyota LC80. Before showing you the finished crawler, there's one last detail I need to take care of, the front bumper. It broke right where it mounts to the chassis. It's a bit fragile in that spot. So, I ordered a new bumper kit, which comes with both front and rear bumpers, plus their mounting brackets. I don't need all of that, I just need the front bumper. But since I'm replacing it anyway, I'm going to try a small custom mod. It's super simple. I'm cutting out a few of the plastic bars from the bumper to open it up a bit. I'll keep the protective section around the headlights, but clear out the center area to give a cleaner, more open look, so that the Toyota badge we proudly installed stands out even more. It's kind of a reward for all the work we've done to give this Patriot a true scale look, and that official Toyota LC80 identity. So, I'll let you watch the trimming process and see the final result for yourself. And don't forget, tell us what you think about this build and all the mods we've done on this rig down in the comments. Your feedback really means a lot to us. Here's the stock bumper next to the modded one, just for a quick visual comparison. I took the tow hooks from the old bumper and mounted them on the new one. Then, the bumper goes back on the chassis. And just like that, our rig's almost ready to tackle anything that comes its way. You can check out the full action video of the Patriot right up here. As you can see, the new bumper gives it a totally different vibe. The original one looked bulky. This one's sleeker, cleaner, and I think it looks way better this way. As usual, we're not stopping at the second option for the shocks. We're going for a third setup. This time, I'm installing these Injora 53mm oil-filled shocks made for the TRX-4M. They're a bit longer and feature a big bore design. I'm pairing them with the stiffest springs, which should give the rig both solid stability and plenty of travel and flex. I'll install them off camera, then we'll check out the finished rig. And here it is, our Easy RC Toyota LC80. It looks amazing and performs even better. Thanks to the full metal gearing, this rig is now built to last. The brass injora wheels add solid ground contact and weight down low. Just look at that rebound. No wobble, no bounce, perfectly stable. The body looks clean, scale, and tough, exactly how I like it. Strong motor, smooth transmission, and the Injora 53mm shocks deliver perfect balance, firm and stable, even with the added weight. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, or drop a comment below. Tell us what you think of this build and the mods we've done. If you didn't like it, that's fine too. Hit the dislike and let us know why. Turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our upcoming custom builds. We've got big plans for this rig. A full brushless system conversion and a brand new exterior look, replacing those mountain decals with something cleaner, more aggressive, and truly Toyota off-road inspired. So, without spoiling too much, stay tuned and I'll catch you guys in the next one.